When a simple taco delivery to a penthouse reawakens Rafael Blake's forgotten roots and tangles Emilia Rojas in a war of tech, trust, and tradition, one question lingers. Can love survive when the whole world is watching? Before we get into the story, comment below where in the world you are watching from today. The morning sun bathed the small taco stand in a warm glow as Emilia Rojas wiped down the counter for the third time. At 25, she had the routine down to a science. Prep the meat by 7, chop vegetables by 8, and have everything ready before the lunch rush hit their corner of East LA. "Emilia, the onions need more lime," her grandmother called from the tiny kitchen. Abuela Sofia had been running Rojas Tacos from the same street corner for 30 years. The stand wasn't much, just a weathered food truck with faded paint and string lights that barely worked. But it was everything to their family. "Got it, Abuela," Emilia answered, tucking a loose strand of dark hair behind her ear. She glanced at the stack of bills hiding beneath the register. 3 months behind on their permit fees. The landlord who owned the corner lot had raised the rent again, and the fancy new food trucks with their social media accounts were stealing customers. "We will make it work," Sophia said, noticing Emilia's worried expression. "We always do." Emilia nodded, though the knot in her stomach said otherwise. Her entire life was in this taco stand. Her childhood memories, her father's recipes before he passed, and now her responsibility to keep it all from crumbling. The lunch crowd came and went, mostly regulars, construction workers from down the block, teachers from the elementary school, and old Mr. Garcia, who always ordered the same thing and left a $5 tip with a wink. "Thursday delivery day," Sophia reminded Emilia as they packed up the afternoon orders. "Don't forget Mrs. Lopez and the security guards at the bank." Emilia nodded, loading the warm containers into her beat-up Honda. Thursday deliveries were their tradition, a way to keep business going during the afternoon lull. "Wait," Sophia called, holding up one more bag. "New customer, Uptown, very good tip on the phone." Emilia frowned. "Uptown? Since when do we deliver all the way up there?" "Since we need new customers," Sophia replied firmly. "Address is on a receipt. Blake, penthouse." Emilia sighed. Great. Some rich person who probably wanted authentic food to impress their friends. She'd seen the type before. "Fine, I'll go after the regular deliveries." 3 hours later, Emilia stood in front of the most expensive-looking building she'd ever seen. Marble floors gleamed in the lobby, and a uniformed doorman looked her up and down, taking in her worn Dodgers hoodie jeans and the paper bag of food in her hands. "Delivery for Mr. Blake," she said, lifting her chin slightly. "Penthouse." The doorman raised an eyebrow but picked up his phone. After a brief conversation, he nodded toward the elevator. "Penthouse, top floor." The elevator ride felt endless. Emilia checked her reflection in the mirrored walls, suddenly aware of how out of place she looked. Her dark hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail, and a smudge of salsa stained her sleeve. "Whatever," she muttered. "I'm just delivering tacos, not applying for a job." When the doors opened, she stepped into a hallway with only one door at the end. Taking a deep breath, she knocked. The door swung open and Emilia's greeting died on her lips. The man standing before her wasn't what she'd expected. No suit, no assistant. Instead, he stood barefoot in dark pants and a half-buttoned white shirt, with the sleeves rolled up. His dark hair was slightly messy and his eyes, a warm brown, looked tired but alert. "You're not the regular delivery service," he said, surprise evident in his voice. "Rojas Tacos," Emilia replied, holding up the bag. "You ordered from us?" "My assistant did," he answered, taking the bag. "I told her to find the best tacos in the city." As he opened the bag, the aroma of spices filled the air. He peered inside, then back at Emilia. "You made these?" he asked. "My grandmother and I," she corrected, already stepping back toward the elevator. "Enjoy." "Wait," he called, pulling out his wallet. "Let me get your tip." "It's included," Emilia said. "Have a good day, Mr. Blake." She turned to leave, but his next words stopped her. "At least tell me if I should heat them up or eat them now." Emilia turned back, unable to help the small smile that tugged at her lips. "They're still warm. Eat them now, with the lime on the side." He nodded, then opened the container right there in the doorway. The steam rose as he picked up a carnitas taco, taking a generous bite. His reaction was immediate. His eyes widened, and he stopped chewing for a moment. "This tastes like a memory I forgot I had," he said quietly. Emilia laughed, despite herself. "That's Abuela's secret. She cooks with guilt and garlic." The man, Mr. Blake, smiled, and something in his tired expression lifted. "I'm Raphael," he said, offering his free hand. "Raphael Blake." "Emilia Rojas," she replied, hesitantly shaking his hand. "Would you—" he gestured inside his apartment. "Would you stay and eat with me? I ordered way too much for one person." Emilia shook her head. "I have more deliveries to make." "Please," he said, and something in his voice made her pause. It wasn't entitled or demanding. It sounded lonely. Against her better judgment, Emilia checked her watch. Her last delivery could wait 15 minutes. "One taco," she conceded. "Then I have to go." Raphael's apartment was exactly what you'd expect from a penthouse. Floor-to-ceiling windows with views of the entire city, modern furniture that looked like it had never been sat on, and a kitchen so clean it seemed unused. "Do you even cook in here?" Emilia asked before she could stop herself. Raphael laughed, setting the food on the kitchen island. "Not really, I work too much." "What do you do?" she asked, taking the taco he offered. "Tech, software mostly." He shrugged as if it wasn't important. "What about you, just the taco stand?" Emilia stiffened. "There's no just about it. That stand has been feeding families for 30 years. Raphael looked genuinely embarrassed. "I didn't mean it like that. I meant, is that all you want to do?" The question caught her off guard. Most people asked about her recipes or how authentic the food was. No one asked about her dreams. "When you dream with people who never had much," she found herself saying, "it hurts when you lose even a little." Raphael's expression changed, understanding replacing curiosity. "I know what you mean." He hesitated, then added, "My parents came here with nothing. My abuela used to make tacos like these when I was a kid." Emilia studied him more carefully. His accent was pure California, but now she noticed the family photos on a distant shelf, faces that looked more like her neighbors than the people in this building. One taco turned into two, and then into a conversation. Raphael asked questions. No one had asked her before, not about the food but about her. Why she looked sad when she smiled, what music she listened to when she cooked, what made her stay in the neighborhood when so many others left. And somehow, Emilia found herself answering. "I need to go," she said finally, checking her watch. "I still have one more delivery." Raphael walked her to the door. "These were the best tacos I've had since my grandmother died," he said quietly. "Thank you." "Just doing my job," Emilia replied, but she couldn't help smiling. "Does Rojas Tacos deliver every day?" he asked. "Thursdays only," she said. "But you can always come to the stand." Raphael nodded. "Thursday then. Same time?" Emilia hesitated, then nodded. "Same time." Back in her car, Emilia sat for a moment, wondering what had just happened. It was just tacos, she told herself. Just another customer. But as she drove away from the gleaming high-rise, she couldn't shake the feeling that something had changed. The following Thursday, Emilia made all her regular deliveries first. She told herself it was the logical route, not that she was nervous, about seeing Raphael again. When she finally arrived at his building, the same doorman nodded in recognition. "Mr. Blake is expecting you." This time, Raphael opened the door immediately, as if he'd been waiting. "You came back," he said, relief evident in his voice. "You ordered food," she answered simply. "Come in," he said, "I have something to show you." In his kitchen, he'd set up 2 place settings. "I remembered you said you never get to eat until after all the deliveries," he explained. "I thought maybe we could eat together again." Emilia wanted to refuse. Getting friendly with customers, especially rich ones from another world, was asking for trouble, but the genuine hope in his eyes made her hesitate. "Just for a few minutes," she conceded. Over tacos, Raphael told her about his week, how he'd been avoiding business calls, how his former partner kept trying to schedule meetings, How the press wouldn't leave him alone after his very public exit from the company he'd founded. "You're that Raphael Blake?" Amelia asked, suddenly realizing why he'd seemed familiar. His face had been on magazine covers a year ago, the tech wunderkind who'd made millions before 30. "Unfortunately," he answered with a self-deprecating smile. "What happened?" she asked. "I don't really follow business news." Raphael's expression darkened. "My partner and my fiancée decided they'd be better off without me. In the same week." "They left you?" Amelia asked, surprised. "They left together," Raphael clarified. "Along." "With half my intellectual property and my trust in people," Amelia winced. "That's harsh." "Enough about me," Raphael said, clearly wanting to change the subject. "Tell me about your week." And strangely, she did. She told him about the broken refrigerator at the stand, about the city inspector who'd threatened to cite them for a missing permit, about her cousin's new baby, and how she'd spent last night helping with midnight feedings. Raphael listened with complete attention, asking questions that showed he was actually interested. Not once did he check his phone or look bored. When she finally stood to leave, he walked her to the elevator again. "Same time next week?" he asked. Amelia nodded before she could think better of it. "Same time." As the elevator doors closed, she caught a glimpse of his smile, the first real one she'd seen from him. It changed his whole face, erasing the tiredness around his eyes. It was just tacos, she reminded herself. Just a lonely, rich guy who missed his grandmother's cooking. But back at the taco stand, as she helped her Abuela close up for the night, Emilia found herself humming. "You look happy," Sophia observed. "Did the new customer tip well again?" "Yes," Emilia said, not meeting her grandmother's knowing eyes. "He did. The third Thursday, Emilia brought extra salsa. I noticed you liked the spicy one," she explained. When Raphael raised an eyebrow. "You noticed," he repeated, something warm in his voice. This time she stayed for nearly an hour. Raphael showed her his collection of vinyl records, many of them the same Mexican artists her father had loved. He put one on, and the familiar melody filled the sterile apartment with life. "Why do you live here?" she asked. "This place doesn't feel like you." Raphael looked around as if seeing the apartment for the first time. "It seemed like what someone in my position should have." "And what position is that? Successful? Important?" He shrugged. "Lonely?" The honesty in his voice made something twist in Emilia's chest. "You could change that." "That's what I'm trying to do," he answered, his eyes meeting hers. The moment stretched between them, and Emilia felt her heart beat faster. This was dangerous territory. He was a customer, a rich one from another world. "I should go," she said, standing abruptly. Raphael didn't try to stop her, but at the door he asked, "Why does success scare you, Emilia?" The question caught her off guard. "It doesn't. When I mentioned my company, you pulled away. When I talk about money, you change the subject." Emilia sighed. "Because people like you think success means leaving places like East LA behind. It means forgetting where you came from." Raphael was quiet for a moment. "Is that what you think I did? Didn't you?" He didn't answer, but his expression told her she'd hit a nerve. The fourth Thursday delivery changed everything. Emilia arrived to find Raphael looking more animated than she had ever seen him. "I went to your taco stand yesterday," he announced as soon as she entered. Emilia stared at him. "You did? Why didn't you say hello?" "I wanted to see it without interfering," he explained. "Your grandmother is amazing. She gave me extra guacamole and told me I was too skinny." Emilia couldn't help laughing. "That sounds like Abuela." "She reminded me of my own grandmother," Raphael said, his expression softening. "I used to sneak away from my parents' house to her apartment. I'd sleep on her couch just to wake up to real food and someone who didn't care about my grades or my future." "What happened to her?" Emilia asked gently. "She died while I was at college," he said. "I was too busy with exams to visit her the weekend before." His voice cracked slightly. "I've been trying to make up for that ever since, I think." Emilia reached out, touching his arm. "She would be proud of you." "Would she?" Raphael asked. "I'm not so sure. I lost myself somewhere along the way, chasing success." They ate in comfortable silence for a while, until Raphael looked up suddenly. What's your biggest fear, Emilia? She nearly choked on her taco. What kind of dinner conversation is that? An honest one, he replied. Mine is ending up alone. Having all this, he gestured around the apartment, and no one to share it with. Emilia set down her food. Letting someone close, she said finally. Then not being enough. Raphael's eyes never left hers. Is that why you work so hard at the stand, to be enough? The stand is everything to my family, she explained. If we lose it, we lose our history, our place. What if you could have both, Raphael asked. The history and something new? Before she could answer, his phone rang. He ignored it, but it rang again immediately. I'm sorry, he said, glancing at the screen. I need to take this. He stepped into another room, but Emilia could hear his voice rising. Words like absolutely not and without my approval drifted through the door. When he returned, his face was flushed with anger. I'm sorry about that. Trouble, she asked. My former partner, he explained. He's trying to sell my company's technology to a competitor. Can he do that? Not legally, but that hasn't stopped him before. Raphael ran a hand through his hair. I've been avoiding dealing with this for months. Why? Emilia asked. Because fighting means going back to that world, he said. The press, the meetings, the fakeness of it all. So you're just going to hide up here forever? The question hung between them, and Raphael's expression shifted from surprise to something like clarity. No, he said finally. I'm not. As Emilia prepared to leave, Raphael walked her not just to the elevator, but all the way down to the lobby. The doorman's eyebrows shot up in surprise. Next Thursday? Raphael asked as they reached her car. Emilia nodded. Same time. But as she drove away, she couldn't ignore the warning bells in her head. The way her heart raced when he stood close, the way she looked forward to Thursdays now, the way his problems were beginning to feel like her problems. This wasn't just about tacos anymore, and that terrified her. Back at the taco stand, Sophia was waiting with a strange expression. A man in a suit came looking for you, she said, handing Emilia a business card. He asked many questions about our delivery to the Blake penthouse. Emilia stared at the card. Logan Reynolds, reporter. What did you tell him? Nothing, Sophia said firmly. But Emilia, what are you involved in? Who is this man you deliver to? Just a customer, Abuela, Emilia said, but her voice lacked conviction. Sophia took her granddaughter's hands. Be careful with your heart, Mija. People from that world don't understand our world. It's just a delivery, Emilia insisted. Nothing more. But that night, as she lay in bed, Emilia knew she was lying to herself. Something was growing between her and Raphael, something fragile and unexpected, and she had no idea what to do about it. The next week passed in a blur for Emilia. Business at the taco stand picked up unexpectedly, a small blessing that kept her too busy to overthink her growing connection with Raphael. We need more cilantro, Sophia called out on Wednesday afternoon. And more limes. I've never seen such a crowd on a weekday. Emilia wiped sweat from her brow as she handed a bag to a waiting customer. Maybe that food blogger who stopped by last week wrote something nice about us. Maybe, Sophia agreed, though her eyes held a knowing look. Or maybe someone else has been spreading the word. Before Emilia could respond, her cousin Miguel rushed up to the counter, phone in hand. You need to see this. He thrust the phone at her. On the screen was a social media post from a local food account. Secrets. Out. Tech billionaire Raphael Blake spotted at Rojas Tacos 3 times this week. Is this the best hidden gem in East LA? Below was a photo of Raphael standing in line at their taco stand, his expensive watch visible as he handed cash to Sophia. He's been coming here, Emilia asked, surprised. She hadn't seen him since their last Thursday delivery. See, every day. For this week, Sophia confirmed. Very polite. Always asks if you're working, then orders enough food for 3 people. Emilia felt her cheeks warm. Why didn't you tell me? Sophia shrugged. I thought you knew. He's your special customer, no? He's just a customer, Abuela, Emilia insisted, though her racing heart suggested otherwise. A customer who looks at the door every time it opens, Sophia said with a small smile. A customer who asks about your favorite dishes A customer who left this for you yesterday. She reached beneath the counter and pulled out a book, a worn copy of Like Water for Chocolate. A small note was tucked inside. You mentioned this was your favorite. I finally read it. Now I understand why you cook the way you do. R. Emilia. Stared at the book, a strange tightness in her chest. No one had ever listened to her so carefully before. Tomorrow is Thursday, Sophia said gently. Delivery day. I know, Emilia whispered, tucking the book into her bag. That night, Emilia couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about Raphael, not the rich tech entrepreneur, but the man who listened when she spoke, who remembered the books she loved, who seemed to see her in a way no one else did. Thursday morning arrived with unexpected drama. As Emilia helped set up the taco stand, a sleek black car pulled up. A woman in an impeccable suit stepped out, her heels clicking on the pavement as she approached. Emilia Rojas? She asked, her tone all business. Yes? The woman extended a business card. Victoria Mercer. I represent Mertec Industries. We'd like to discuss a potential partnership with Rojas Tacos. Emilia frowned, taking the card. Partnership? Our CEO is interested in helping local businesses expand, Victoria explained. We could offer financial backing, marketing support, possibly even franchising opportunities. Sophia stepped forward, wiping her hands on her apron. Who is your CEO? Michael. Reynolds, Victoria replied. I'm sure you've heard of him. Emilia hadn't, but the name triggered a memory. Raphael mentioning his former partner who had betrayed him. Mr. Reynolds believes authentic culinary experiences like yours deserve a wider audience, Victoria continued smoothly. We'd like to set up a meeting next week to discuss details. We'll think about it, Emilia said cautiously. Victoria's professional smile never wavered. Excellent. Oh, and one more thing. This opportunity would require exclusivity. No special arrangements with other investors. The implication was clear. Somehow Michael Reynolds knew about Raphael's interest in their taco stand. After Victoria left, Sophia looked troubled. What was that about, Emilia? What haven't you told me? I don't know, Abuela, Emilia answered honestly. But I think someone's using our taco stand to get to Raphael. Sophia's expression hardened. I don't want trouble, Mija. We have worked too hard for too long. I know, Emilia assured her. I'll figure it out. But as the day progressed, things only got more complicated. The reporter who had left his card returned, this time with a photographer. Miss Rojas, he called out as she served customers. Logan Reynolds from City Pulse. Could I ask you a few questions about your relationship with Raphael Blake? Emilia froze. There's no relationship. He's a customer. A customer you visit privately every Thursday? Logan pressed, his smile never reaching his eyes. A customer who's suddenly taken an interest in a small taco stand in East LA? Please leave, Emilia said firmly. We're trying to work. The photographer snapped several photos before Sophia chased them away with threats of calling the police. But the damage was done. People were starting to stare, whispers spreading among the customers. By afternoon, Emilia's phone was buzzing with messages from friends who had seen social media posts about her and Raphael. Some teasing, some curious, some warning her about getting involved with someone from his world. As delivery time approached, Emilia debated cancelling. Whatever was happening between her and Raphael was bringing unwanted attention to her family's business, but the thought of not seeing him made her chest ache. I'll make the deliveries, she told Sophia, who nodded with worried eyes. Be careful, Mija, not just with him, but with your heart. Emilia made her regular deliveries first, trying to sort through her jumbled thoughts. When she finally arrived at Raphael's building, the doorman seemed unusually alert. Mr. Blake is expecting you, he said, then added in a lower voice, there are photographers watching the building. Mr. Blake suggested you use the service elevator. Emilia's stomach dropped. This was getting out of hand. The service elevator opened directly into Raphael's penthouse kitchen. He was waiting, his expression a mix of concern and relief. How you came? He said simply. I brought your order, Emilia replied, setting down the bag. Raphael stepped closer. I'm sorry about the reporters. My lawyer says my ex-partner is behind it. He's trying to create a distraction while he moves forward with his plans. It's not just reporters, Emilia said, telling him about Victoria Mercer's visit. Raphael's jaw tightened. Michael is trying to get to me through you. I'm so sorry, Emilia. I never meant for you or your family to get caught in the middle of this. What exactly is happening, Raphael? I need to know if my family's business is at risk. Raphael sighed, running a hand through his hair. Michael and I founded Murtech together. We developed software that could predict consumer behavior with incredible accuracy. When I wanted to focus on using it for small businesses, Michael disagreed. He saw bigger profits working with corporations and political campaigns. What does that have to do with us? Michael knows I'm planning something new, Raphael explained. Something that would help businesses like yours compete with the big chains. He's trying to derail it before I can launch. Emilia studied his face, looking for signs of deception, but found only sincerity. Why would you want to help businesses like ours? Because places like your taco stand are what make communities real, he said passionately. My grandmother's cooking saved me when I was growing up in a house where success was the only value that mattered. Places like Rojas Tacos aren't just about food. They're about connection, heritage, belonging. His words resonated with something deep inside her, but Emilia remained cautious. And what do you get out of it? Raphael's eyes met hers. A chance to use my success for something that matters. And, he hesitated, a reason to see you. The honesty in his voice made her heart skip. But before she could respond, his phone buzzed. He glanced at it and his expression darkened. What is it? She asked. Raphael turned the phone toward her. On the screen was a gossip site with the headline, Tech Billionaire's Taco Girl, Gold Digger or Genuine. Below was a photo of Emilia leaving. Raphael's building the previous week. I'll call my lawyers, Raphael said quickly. We can have this taken down. It doesn't matter, Emilia cut in, her voice strained. People will think what they want to think. It matters to me, Raphael insisted. They're trying to make this seem tawdry when it's what? Emilia challenged, her emotions bubbling over. What exactly is this, Raphael? I deliver tacos. You eat them. That's our business relationship. Is that all this is to you? He asked quietly. Business? Emilia couldn't meet his eyes. It has to be. Look at this. She gestured to the phone. Your world and mine don't mix. They never will. That's not true, Raphael argued. I grew up in a neighborhood not so different from yours. My parents worked 2 jobs each so I could go to college. Just because I have money now doesn't mean I've forgotten where I came from. Haven't you? Emilia countered. You live in this empty penthouse. You wear watches that cost more than my car. You've been hiding up here for months instead of fighting for what you believe in. Raphael flinched as if she'd slapped him. That's not fair. Life isn't fair, Emilia shot back. If it was, my family wouldn't be struggling to keep our taco stand, while people like your ex-partner use us as pawns in their games. A heavy silence fell between them. Raphael stepped back, hurt clear in his eyes. You're right, he said finally. I have been hiding, but not anymore. And not because of the business or Michael or any of that, because of you. What do you mean? You reminded me of what matters, he said simply. When you walked into this apartment a month ago, it was like color came back into my life. You made me remember who I used to be, who I want to be again. His words hung in the air between them, honest and raw. Emilia felt her defenses crumbling. I'm scared, she admitted quietly. Raphael moved closer, gently taking her hand. Of what? Of this. Of you. Of feeling something that can't possibly work. Why can't it work? Because people will say, I'm after your money, she whispered. Because your world will never accept someone like me. Because my family needs me focused on saving our business, not getting lost in some fantasy. Raphael's thumb traced circles on her palm, sending shivers up her arm. What if I told you it doesn't have to be either or? What if we could find a way to make both work? Before she could answer, her phone rang. It was Sophia. Abuela, what's wrong? Her grandmother's voice was tight with worry. Emilia, you need to come back. The health inspector is here. He says there's been a complaint about our permits. What? But we just renewed everything last month. He says it's not. Enough. He's threatening to shut us down unless we fix everything by tomorrow morning. Emilia's blood ran cold. I'll be right there. She hung up and turned to Raphael, panic clear on her face. I have to go. They're trying to shut down our taco stand. Michael, Raphael said grimly, this has his fingerprints all over it. I need to go, Emilia repeated, already moving toward the door. I'm coming with you, Raphael insisted, grabbing his keys and wallet. No, Emilia said firmly. This is my family's problem. We'll handle it. Emilia, please, let me help. That's the problem. Raphael, you think you can fix everything with your money and connections, but some things aren't yours to fix. The words came out harsher than she intended, but Emilia was too upset to soften them. Without waiting for his response, she rushed to the elevator. As the doors closed, she caught a glimpse of Raphael's face, the hurt in his eyes, the arguments dying on his lips. For a moment, she almost pushed the button to reopen the doors, but the thought of her grandmother facing the health inspector alone strengthened her resolve. Family came first, always. By the time Emilia reached the taco stand, a small crowd had gathered. The health inspector, a thin man with a clipboard and a smug expression, was listing violations while Sophia stood silently, her proud shoulders slumped in defeat. What's going on? Emilia demanded, pushing through the onlookers. The inspector barely glanced at her. Multiple health code violations, improper food storage, outdated permits. This establishment will remain closed until all issues are addressed and new inspections are passed. That's impossible, Emilia protested. We've never failed an inspection. We renewed our permits last month. Different standards now, the inspector replied blandly. New regulations. Emilia's neighbors and regular customers began to argue on their behalf, but the inspector remained unmoved. He placed a bright red closed sign on their counter and walked away, leaving Sophia and Emilia standing amid their livelihood with stunned expressions. What do we do now? Sophia whispered, her voice uncharacteristically small. For the first time in her life, Emilia had no answer. That night, neighbors and friends gathered at their small apartment. Miguel researched the new regulations while his wife, Elena, called every connection she had at City Hall. Regular customers offered to start a fundraiser to help with whatever fines or upgrades were needed. We will not give up, Sophia declared, her fighting spirit returning as she served coffee to everyone crowded into their tiny living room. Rojas' family does not surrender. Emilia tried to match her grandmother's determination, but inside she was drowning in guilt. This wasn't just about health codes or permits. This was Raphael's ex-partner targeting her family because of her connection to Raphael. As everyone finally left with promises to help however they could, Emilia sat alone at the kitchen table, staring at her phone. 20 missed calls from Raphael. A dozen text messages asking if she was okay, offering legal help, promising to fix this. She didn't respond to any of them. You should call him, Sophia said softly, sitting across from her. This is my fault, Abuela, Emilia confessed, tears finally spilling. See, if I hadn't gotten involved with Raphael, none of this would have happened. Sophia reached across the table and took her granddaughter's hands. Listen to me, Mija. In my 70 years, I have learned one truth. Trouble comes whether you invite it or not. The question is not how to avoid it, but who stands beside you when it arrives. What do you mean? This Raphael, Sophia said thoughtfully. When he comes to the taco stand, he doesn't act like a rich man. He waits in line. He helps customers carry their orders. He talks to old Mr. Garcia about baseball for an hour. Emilia looked up in surprise. He does? Sophia nodded. A man shows his true self not in big gestures, but in small moments when he thinks no one is watching. She squeezed Emilia's hands. Call him, not for help, but because a heart that cares deserves the truth. After Sophia went to bed, Emilia sat on their small balcony, staring out at the neighborhood lights. Finally, she picked up her phone and dialed Raphael's number. He answered on the first ring. Emilia, are you okay? I've been so worried. They closed the taco stand, she said quietly. I know, he replied, his voice tight with anger. I've been making calls all night. This isn't just a regular inspection. Michael paid someone off. I'm sure of it. Can he do that? He has connections everywhere, Raphael said grimly. But so do I. I've already spoken with my lawyers. We'll fight this, Emilia, I promise. Emilia closed her eyes, torn between relief at his support and fear of depending on him. Raphael, I know what you're going to say, he interrupted, that you don't want my help, that you can handle this yourself. And I believe you can. You're the strongest person I've ever met. But please, let me stand with you in this fight. Not as a rich guy throwing money around, but as someone who cares about you. About your family, about what Rojas Tacos means to the community. His sincerity broke through her last defenses. Okay, she whispered. Okay? Yes. But Raphael, this can't be about us. Whatever is happening between us needs to wait. My family comes first. There was a pause before he answered. I understand. Family first. Always. The relief in his voice made her heart ache. How long had it been since someone had put Raphael first? There's something else you should know, he added. I'm going public tomorrow. About Michael. About what? He's been doing about my new project. I've been hiding long enough. Are you sure? Emilia asked. Won't that put you at risk? Some things are worth the risk, Raphael said quietly. I'm learning that from you. After they hung up, Emilia sat for a long time watching the stars appear above the city lights. For the first time since the inspector had placed that closed sign on their counter, she felt a flicker of hope. But as she finally went to bed, one troubling thought remained. If Raphael was willing to fight for her family's taco stand, what was she willing to fight for? The answer came to her as she drifted off to sleep. Not just the taco stand, not just her family's legacy, but also the chance to discover what might grow between her and Raphael if they were brave enough to nurture it. Morning brought chaos. Emilia woke to Miguel pounding on their door, phone in hand once again. You need to see this, he said, his expression a mix of shock and awe. On the screen was a breaking news story. Tech billionaire Raphael Blake goes public. Accusations of corporate espionage, corruption, and a new vision for small business. The article showed Raphael standing in front of Mertech's headquarters, surrounded by reporters. He looked nothing like the tired, barefoot man who had first opened his door to her. This Raphael stood tall, confident, determination radiating from him as he faced the cameras. He's really doing it, Emilia whispered. He's fighting back. By mid-morning, the story was everywhere. Raphael had released documents showing how his former partner had attempted to steal his intellectual property, how Michael Reynolds had planned to sell their technology to political campaigns for voter manipulation, how Mertech had been using underhanded tactics to eliminate competition, including pressuring health inspectors to target specific businesses. He named our taco stand, Sophia said in disbelief as they watched the news coverage. He told everyone what they did to us. Emilia's phone buzzed with a text from Raphael. Check your email, lawyer's letter attached. Show it to the inspector when he returns. Sure enough, her email contained a formal letter from one of the city's most prestigious law firms, detailing the illegal nature of yesterday's inspection and demanding an immediate review. When the same inspector returned that afternoon, this time with his supervisor, his smug expression had vanished. After reviewing the lawyer's letter, the supervisor apologized profusely, removed the closed sign, and promised a fair re-inspection the following week. As word spread through the neighborhood, customers began to arrive. By evening, a line stretched down the block, people coming not just for the tacos but to show support. We've never been this busy, Sophia marveled as they worked side by side. Not even at Christmas. Emilia smiled, but her thoughts were with Raphael. He had kept his promise, he had fought for her family. Now she needed to decide if she was brave enough to fight for what was growing between them. As they served the last customers of the night, a familiar black car pulled up across the street. Emilia's heart raced as she watched Raphael step out. He stood uncertainly on the sidewalk, not approaching, simply waiting. Sophia nudged her gently. Go. I'll finish here. Emilia wiped her hands on her apron and walked toward him, aware of the curious gazes following her. Raphael looked exhausted but somehow lighter than she'd ever seen him. "You came," she said, echoing his words from the day before. "I wanted to make sure you were okay," he replied. "I saw they reopened the stand." "Because of you," Raphael shook his head. "I just exposed the truth. Your family did the rest." They stood in awkward silence for a moment, the events of the past day hanging between them. "I saw the news," Emilia finally said. "You really did it. You fought back." "I had something worth fighting for," Raphael answered, his eyes meeting hers. The simple honesty of his words made her breath catch. Before she could respond, Sophia called out from the taco stand, "Raphael, come eat. You look too skinny on TV." Smile broke across his face, the real one that transformed his features. "Your grandmother is calling. We'd better not keep her waiting." As they walked back to the taco stand together, Emilia felt something shift between them. Whatever was happening, whatever challenges still lay ahead, they would face them together. Because some connections, like the perfect blend of spices in her grandmother's salsa, were too special to let go. The next morning, Emilia woke to the sound of her phone buzzing. She had fallen asleep scrolling through news articles about Raphael's very public confrontation with his former partner. Now, notifications filled her screen, messages from friends, local news requests for interviews, and even an email from a television producer wanting to feature Rojas Tacos on a food show. "What in the world?" she muttered, sitting up in bed. A knock at her bedroom door was followed by Sophia's excited voice. "Emilia, come quick! You need to see this!" Still in her pajamas, Emilia hurried to the living room where Sophia had the television tuned to a morning news show. Raphael was on screen, dressed in a crisp suit but with no tie, looking more relaxed and authentic than any billionaire had a right to be. "Mr. Blake," the interviewer was saying, "your allegations against Murtech and Michael Reynolds have shaken the tech world. But what's getting even more attention is your new project. Can you tell us more about Community First?" Raphael nodded, a passion in his eyes that made Emilia's heart skip. Community First is about using technology to empower small businesses instead of replacing them. For too long, we've watched beloved local establishments get pushed out by big chains with bigger advertising budgets and fancy apps. "And this is personal for you?" the interviewer prompted. "Very personal," Raphael admitted. "I grew up visiting my grandmother's neighborhood in East LA, where local businesses weren't just stores, they were the heart of the community. Places where people knew your name, where traditions were preserved, where families built legacies across generations." The camera cut to a photo of a taco stand that made Emilia gasp. It was Rojas Tacos, with Sophia smiling at the counter. "Places like Rojas Tacos," Raphael continued, "which has been serving the same neighborhood for 30 years. They make the best carnitas tacos in the city, but more importantly, they're a cornerstone of their community. When corrupt inspectors tried to shut them down as part of Michael Reynolds' vendetta against me, the entire neighborhood rallied around them. And your connection to Rojas Tacos is—" The interviewer left the question hanging. Raphael smiled, but there was steel in his voice. "They make incredible food. Their story represents exactly what Community First is fighting to protect. And the owner's granddaughter reminded me of what really matters in life. Not the fancy address or the bank account, but the connections we make and the communities we build." Sophia turned to Emilia with wide eyes. "Did you hear that? He mentioned you on national television." Emilia could barely breathe. Part of her wanted to hide under her blankets, while another part, a part she was just beginning to acknowledge, felt a surge of pride at Raphael's words. Her phone buzzed again. A text from Raphael. "Hope I didn't embarrass you. My PR team says I should have been more discreet, but I'm done hiding how I feel." Before she could respond, the doorbell rang. Sophia hurried to answer it, returning with a strange expression and a small envelope. "It's from him," she said simply. Emilia opened the envelope to find a handwritten note. "I have a meeting about Community First today, but after that I'd like to show you something important. If you're willing, meet me at this address at 7 p.m. R." An address in Boyle Heights was scribbled below, not far from their neighborhood, but not an area Emilia immediately recognized. "Are you going?" Sophia asked, trying and failing to hide her curiosity. Emilia hesitated. After everything that had happened, she still wasn't sure where things stood between her and Raphael. He had fought for her family's business, had publicly acknowledged their connection, but there was still so much they hadn't said to each other. "I think I am," she finally answered. Sophia nodded approvingly. "Good. Now help me get ready for the stand. With all this attention, we'll need extra of everything today." She was right. By noon, the line at Rojas Tacos stretched down the block. News vans parked nearby, reporters hoping to catch a glimpse of Raphael Blake's Taco Girl, a nickname that made Emilia cringe every time she heard it. But the locals formed a protective barrier around the stand, turning away reporters and making sure Emilia and Sophia could work in peace. "This is crazy," Miguel commented as he helped serve the overwhelming crowd. "We've never been this busy, not even during the festival last year." Emilia nodded, feeling both grateful and overwhelmed. "It won't last. Once the next celebrity scandal breaks, they'll forget all about us." Miguel raised an eyebrow. "Maybe, but we should make the most of it while it lasts. You know, my friend Jorge works at the bank. He says we could qualify for that expansion loan we've been talking about for years. With business like this, we could finally open a real restaurant." The thought sent a jolt through Emilia. The restaurant had been her father's dream. A proper place with tables and chairs, where people could sit and enjoy their food instead of standing on the sidewalk. For years it had seemed impossible with their thin margins and the rising costs of rent. "Let's not get ahead of ourselves," she cautioned, though a seed of hope had been planted. As evening approached, Sophia insisted on closing the stand early. "Go get ready," she urged Emilia. "You can't meet him looking like you've been working all day, even if you have." An hour later, Emilia stood in front of her closet, doubting every option. She finally settled on a simple blue dress she'd worn to her cousin's wedding last year, paired with her only nice shoes. She let her hair down from its usual ponytail and applied a touch of makeup. Nothing fancy, but enough to feel like she'd made an effort. "Beautiful," Sophia declared when Emilia emerged from her room. "Now go. And remember what I told you about judging a man by the small moments." The address Raphael had given led to a quiet street lined with old houses. Some had been renovated, others showed their age proudly. Emilia parked her car and checked the number again, confused when she found herself standing in front of a modest two-story house with a small front yard. Before she could double-check the address, the front door opened, and Raphael stepped out. Gone was the suit from the morning interview. Instead, he wore jeans and a simple button-down shirt, looking more like the man who had first opened his door to her than the billionaire from the news. "You came," he said, his smile warming his entire face. "I was curious," Emilia admitted. "What is this place?" Raphael gestured for her to join him on the porch. "This was my grandmother's house. I've owned it since she died, but I haven't had the courage to come back until recently." Emilia looked at the house with new interest. "You grew up here?" "Not exactly. My parents' house was in Brentwood, all glass and modern furniture, very impressive, very cold. But this is where I spent every weekend I could escape. This is where I learned to make tortillas and play dominoes, and laugh without worrying if it was appropriate." He opened the door and invited her inside. The house was clean but clearly hadn't been lived in for some time. The furniture was covered with sheets, but the walls were filled with family photos, generations of smiling faces at birthdays, weddings, graduations. "My abuela moved here from Mexico City in 1965, Raphael explained, moving through the rooms, with a reverence that touched Emilia. "She never had much money, but she made this place a home for anyone who needed one. Cousins who needed a place to stay while looking for work, neighbors who couldn't afford childcare, even my friends from college when they had nowhere to go for holidays." Emilia followed him into the kitchen, which was small but warm somehow, with hand-painted tiles above the sink and a scarred wooden table that had clearly hosted countless family meals. "I had my most important conversations at this table," Raphael said, running his hand over the surface. "When I got into Stanford but was afraid to leave home. When I started my first company and wasn't sure I could do it. when my grandfather died, and I thought the grief would swallow me whole." He looked up at Emilia, his eyes full of emotion. "After my grandmother died, I couldn't bear to sell this place, but I couldn't face coming back either. So I just locked it up and pretended it didn't exist, like I did with so many parts of myself." "Why are you showing me this now?" Emilia asked softly. Raphael took a deep breath. "Because I want you to know who I really am. Not the penthouse or the fancy car or the bank account. This," he gestured around the kitchen, "this is my heart. And I lost touch with it for too long." He led her to the back door, which opened onto a small patio with an herb garden that had gone wild in the absence of care. A single lime tree stood in the corner, heavy with fruit. "My grandfather planted that tree when they bought the house," Raphael said. "My grandmother used those limes in everything. Agua fresca, ceviche, taqueria-style salsa that could make you cry. It was so good." Emilia smiled, remembering her own grandfather's chili plants. "My abuelo was the same with his peppers. He said a good chili was worth more than gold." "Smart man," Raphael agreed. Then, more seriously, "Emilia, there's something else I wanted to talk to you about." He guided her to a small wrought-iron table and chairs on the patio. As they sat, the streetlights came on, casting a gentle glow over the garden. "I'm moving out of the penthouse," he announced. "I'm going to renovate this place and move back in." Emilia couldn't hide her surprise. "Really? But it's so far from everything. Your office, your—" "My what?" Raphael challenged gently. "My social circle that abandoned me the minute I wasn't useful. The restaurants where I pay $200 for food that doesn't taste like anything. The neighbors who don't even know my name." He shook his head. "I've been thinking about this for weeks, but seeing you with your family, your community, it finally gave me the courage to make the change. This neighborhood is where I belong. It's where I've always belonged." The sincerity in his voice made Emilia's throat tight with emotion. This wasn't the move of a rich man slumming it for the experience. This was someone finding his way home. "What about your work?" she asked. "Community first?" "That's the other thing I wanted to talk about," Raphael said, leaning forward. "The official launch is next week. We're starting with 50 small businesses across the city, providing them with technology, marketing support, and microloans to help them compete with the chains." "That sounds amazing," Emilia said honestly. "I want Rojas Tacos to be one of our flagship partners," Raphael continued. "Not because of us," he gestured between them, "but because your stand represents exactly what we're trying to protect. 30 years of history, real food made with real love, a place that knows its customers by name." Emilia hesitated. "I don't know, Raphael. That sounds a lot like Victoria Mercer's offer. With one key difference," he countered. "We don't want to change you or take control. You'd maintain full ownership and independence. We just want to give you the tools to reach more customers and grow on your own terms. And if I say no, if Abuela says no," Raphael reached across the table and took her hand, "then I'll respect that decision completely. This isn't conditional, Emilia. My feelings for you don't depend on your family's business partnering with mine." The simple declaration hung in the air between them. "My feelings for you." He hadn't elaborated, hadn't pushed, but the words themselves were a confession. "And what exactly are those feelings?" Emilia asked, her heart pounding. Raphael's thumb traced circles on her palm, just as it had that day in his penthouse. "I think I started falling for you the moment you laughed at my reaction to your abuela's tacos. When you said she cooked with guilt and garlic, it was the most honest thing anyone had said to me in years," he continued, his voice soft but steady. "Every Thursday I counted the hours until you'd arrive. Not just for the food, but for the way you saw me. Not as a billionaire or a tech guy or a headline, but just as a person. You have no idea how rare that is in my life." Emilia swallowed hard. "I was just doing my job." "No," Raphael said with a small smile. "You were being you. Straightforward, kind, unimpressed by my address or my bank account. When you called me out for hiding in my penthouse instead of fighting for what matters, it was like someone finally turned on the lights. After I'd been sitting in the dark for months, the night air was cool, but Emilia felt warmth spreading through her chest. I've been afraid, she admitted, of what people would say, of not belonging in your world. My world is wherever I feel at home, Raphael said simply. And I've never felt more at home than when I'm with you. He lifted her hand and pressed a gentle kiss to her palm. I'm not asking for promises, Emilia. I know we come from different places. I know there are complications. I just want a chance to see where this might go. No pressure, no expectations. Before she could respond, her phone buzzed with a text from Sophia. Channel 6 News, now. Raphael's. Phone buzzed a moment later. He glanced at it and his expression darkened. We need to turn on a TV. They hurried inside, and Raphael uncovered a small television in the living room. The local news was showing footage of Michael Reynolds giving a press conference, his expression grave but with a smugness around his eyes that made Emilia instantly dislike him. While my former partner's accusations are completely unfounded and will be addressed in court, Michael was saying, I'm more concerned about his judgment. Mr. Blake has become personally involved with a small business owner who stands to benefit financially from his new venture. We have to question whether this relationship preceded these business arrangements and if it influenced his decision-making. The camera cut to photos of Emilia and Raphael, her leaving his building, him at the taco stand, and most damning, a grainy shot of them sitting together at his kitchen island, clearly comfortable in each other's presence. This is a clear conflict of interest, Michael continued, and it raises serious questions about Mr. Blake's ability to lead his new venture objectively. The investors and board members of Murtech deserve better. That snake, Raphael muttered, shutting off the TV. He's trying to make this look like a scandal to distract from his own misconduct. Emilia felt sick. He's making it sound like I'm using you to get ahead. No one who knows either of us would believe that, Raphael insisted, but Emilia could see the worry in his eyes. But that's just it, she said quietly. No one knows us. They only know what they see in those photos. The rich guy and the taco. Girl, Raphael ran a hand through his hair in frustration. I'll call my PR team. We can release a statement clarifying the timeline, explaining that... Explaining what? Emilia cut in. That we're not involved? That would be a lie. That we are involved? That just confirms his accusations. Then what do you suggest? Raphael asked, his voice tight. Emilia stood, wrapping her arms around herself. I think we need to take a step back, at least until this blows over. The pain that flashed across Raphael's face made her heart ache, but she pressed on. Your new venture is too important to be derailed by this, and my family can't afford to be dragged through. The mud in the press, we need to be smart about this. Being smart doesn't always mean being right, Raphael argued. I've spent my whole life making the sensible choice, the business-minded decision. And you know what? It left me alone in a penthouse with nothing but my bank account for company. He moved closer, gently taking her shoulders. I don't want to lose what we're just beginning to find, Emilia. Not over Michael's desperate attempt to save himself. The sincerity in his eyes made her resolve waver. I don't want that either, she admitted. But I'm thinking about my family, about Abuela and the taco stand. If people think we're only successful because of you, then we'll prove them wrong, Raphael cut in. Together. Before she could respond, her phone rang. It was Miguel, his voice tense with urgency. Tim, you need to get to the hospital. It's Abuela. Emilia's blood ran cold. What happened? She collapsed at home. The neighbor called an ambulance. I'm heading there now. I'll be right there, Emilia promised, her hand shaking as she ended the call. Raphael was already grabbing his keys. I'll drive you. You're too upset. This time she didn't argue. The drive to the hospital passed in a blur of fear and worry. Raphael held her hand the entire way, his steady presence the only thing keeping her from falling apart. By the time they reached the emergency room, Miguel was already there. How is she? Emilia demanded. Stable, Miguel assured her. The doctor thinks it was her blood pressure. They're running tests now. Emilia sagged with relief. Can I see her? They said family can go in one at a time, Miguel explained, then glanced at Raphael uncertainly. Go, Raphael said to Emilia. I'll wait here. As Emilia followed a nurse down the sterile hallway, her mind raced with worry. Sophia was the strongest person she knew, the family's foundation. The thought of losing her was unbearable. she found her grandmother in a hospital bed, looking smaller and more fragile than Emilia had ever seen her. But when Sophia opened her eyes, that familiar spark was still there. "Stop looking so worried," Sophia chided weakly. "I'm not dying, just old." Emilia fought back tears as she took her grandmother's hand. "You scared me half to death, Abuela." "Bah! The doctor says it's just high blood pressure. Too much excitement today with all those customers." Sophia's eyes narrowed knowingly. "Were you with Rafael when Miguel called?" Even now her grandmother missed nothing. "Yes, he drove me here." "Good boy," Sophia approved. "He cares for you." "We were talking about slowing things down," Emilia admitted. "His ex-partner is trying to use our connection against him." Sophia made a dismissive sound. "Men like that always find weapons. If not you, it would be something else." She squeezed Emilia's hand with surprising strength. "Don't let fear make your choices, Mija. I didn't raise you to hide from life." A nurse appeared at the door. "Miss Rojas, there's someone else here. To see your grandmother." "A Mr. Blake, he says he's a friend of the family." Emilia turned in surprise. "Raphael's still here? He brought food for everyone in the waiting room," the nurse explained with a smile. "Said hospital coffee was a crime against humanity." Sophia chuckled. "Let him in. I want to see this man who's turned my granddaughter's life upside down." Moments later, Raphael entered carrying a small potted plant with bright yellow flowers. He approached the bed with respect, his eyes warm with concern. "Mrs. Rojas, I'm Raphael. I'm so sorry you're not feeling well." Sophia studied him with the intensity she usually reserved for judging produce at the market. "So you're the one who likes my carnitas tacos?" Raphael smiled. "Best I've ever had. Even better than my grandmother's, though I'd never have told her." Sophia's face softened. "A man who respects his grandmother is a good man." She gestured to a chair. "Sit. Tell me about this business idea of yours." To Emilia's amazement, Raphael did exactly that, explaining community first in simple terms, asking Sophia's opinion on features that might help businesses like hers, listening attentively to her suggestions. Not once did he treat her as anything less than an equal partner in the conversation. The nurse eventually returned to tell them visiting hours were ending. Sophia needed to stay overnight for observation, but would likely be released in the morning. "You take care of my granddaughter," Sophia instructed Raphael as they prepared to leave. "She works too hard and laughs too little. Abuela." Emilia protested, embarrassed, but Raphael nodded solemnly. "I'll do my best, Mrs. Rojas." In the parking lot, Miguel offered to stay at the hospital overnight. "You should get some rest," he told Emilia. "Tomorrow we'll be busy at the stand." "I can't leave Abuela," Emilia argued. "She's sleeping now," Miguel pointed out, "and she'd be the first to tell you that the business doesn't run itself." Raphael touched Emilia's arm gently. "Your cousin's right. And your grandmother seemed fine, strong enough to interrogate me about my business model anyway." That drew a reluctant smile from Emilia. "She liked you." "The feeling is mutual," Raphael assured her. "She reminds me of my own Abuela, fierce and loving in equal measure." After extracting a promise from Miguel to call if anything changed, Emilia finally agreed to leave. Raphael walked her to her car. "Will you be okay to drive?" he asked. "I could take you home." Emilia shook her head. "I'm all right, just tired and worried." Raphael hesitated, then said, "About our conversation earlier, we don't have to decide anything tonight. Your family comes first right now." The simple understanding in his voice made Emilia's heart swell with affection. This man, who could have anything, be anywhere, was standing in a hospital parking lot at midnight, putting her needs before his own. "Thank you," she said softly. "For what?" "For being here. For understanding. For bringing my grandmother flowers and talking business with her like her opinion really matters to you." "It does matter," Raphael said simply. "She built something real, something that sustained her family and her community for decades. That's more impressive than any tech company I could ever create." Emilia studied his face in the dim light of the parking lot, seeing past the handsome features to the soul beneath, honest, a little bruised, but fundamentally good. Without overthinking it, she rose on her tiptoes and pressed a soft kiss to his cheek. "Good night, Raphael." His eyes widened in surprise, then warmed with pleasure. "Good night, Emilia." As she drove home, Emilia replayed the events of the day in her mind. The news interview, Raphael's grandmother's house, Michael's accusations, Sophia in the hospital. Through it all, one thing had become increasingly clear. Her feelings for Raphael had grown far beyond friendship, beyond a business connection, into something deeper and more frightening. And if the way he looked at her was any indication, he felt the same way. But as she pulled into her driveway, her phone buzzed with a news alert. Tech war heats up. Reynolds. Files lawsuit against Blake, alleges ethical violations. The battle was just beginning. And somehow Emilia and her family had found themselves right in the middle of it. She fell into bed exhausted, her dreams a confusion of tacos and boardrooms, of Sophia's knowing eyes and Raphael's gentle touch. Morning. Came too soon, with another text from Miguel. Sophia was doing well and would be released by noon. Relieved, Emilia headed to the taco stand to prepare for the day. She was surprised to find a small crowd already gathered, not customers, but neighbors, with brooms, mops, and cleaning supplies. "What's all this?" she asked Elena, Miguel's wife. "We heard about Sophia," Elena explained. "Everyone wanted to help, so you wouldn't have to worry about the stand today. Mrs. Garcia is making the salsa. Jorge from the bank is handling the register. We've got it covered." Tears sprang to Emilia's eyes. "I don't know what to say." "Don't say anything," Elena replied with a smile. "Just go pick up your grandmother. We've got this." As Emilia turned to leave, a delivery truck pulled up. The driver approached with a clipboard. "Delivery for Rojas Tacos?" "I didn't order anything," Emilia said, confused. "It's already paid for," the driver explained. "New refrigeration unit. Installation team is right behind me." Before Emilia could process this, another vehicle arrived, this one carrying a small team with toolboxes and what looked like computer equipment. A young woman stepped forward. "Ms. Rojas? I'm Lucia from Community First. We're here to set up your new ordering system and website. Mr. Blake said to tell you it's a pilot program, no obligation, no strings attached. If you don't like it, we'll take it out, and no hard feelings." Emilia stood frozen, overwhelmed by the sudden flurry of activity. Her phone buzzed in her pocket, a text from Raphael. "Not trying to take over, just wanted to help while you take care of Sophia. Say the word, and I'll call it all off." As she stared at the message, another text came through. "P.S. This isn't about us. This is about making sure your grandmother has one less thing to worry about when she comes home." The consideration behind the gesture touched Emilia deeply. Raphael understood what mattered to her, family first always, and was trying to support that in the best way he knew how. She typed back quickly, "Thank you. I'll call you later." By the time Emilia returned with Sophia, the taco stand had been transformed. The new refrigerator hummed quietly in the corner. A small tablet sat by the register, linked to an online ordering system that had already received 15 orders for the day. The Community First team had created a simple website with the stand's history, menu, and Sophia's story featured prominently. Sophia surveyed it all with surprised approval. "This was your Raphael?" "He wanted to help," Emilia explained. "While we're taking care of you," Sophia nodded thoughtfully. "He understands what matters. That's rare in a man with money." The day passed in a blur of customers, well-wishers checking on Sophia, and Emilia learning the new ordering system. By closing time, they had served more people than any day in the stand's history. As they were cleaning up, Eleanor handed Emilia a stack of papers. "The receipts from today. We've never done this much business, Em. Not even close." Emilia stared at the total in disbelief. "This can't be right." "It is," Elena confirmed. "And look at this." She pulled up the new website on her phone, showing Emilia the online orders scheduled for the next day. "We're already booked solid for lunch tomorrow." As the realization sank in, Emilia felt a strange mix of emotions, gratitude, hope, and a nagging anxiety. This success was wonderful, but how much of it was because of their connection to Raphael? Would it last when the novelty wore off? After helping Sophia settle in at home with strict instructions to rest, Emilia finally had a moment to herself. She sat on their small balcony, staring out at the neighborhood lights, and called Raphael. He answered immediately. "How's your grandmother?" "Better," Emilia said. "Thank you for everything today. The refrigerator, the website, it was too much. But it meant a lot." "It wasn't too much," Raphael insisted. "It was what friends do for each other." After a pause, he added more softly, "Or whatever we are to each other." The question hung between them, unspoken but impossible to ignore. "I'm still figuring that out," Emilia admitted. "Everything's happening so fast. The stand has never been busier. People are talking about expanding. Miguel's wife is already designing t-shirts with our logo." Raphael chuckled. "Sounds like the Rojas Empire is on the rise." "But is it because of us?" Emilia voiced her deepest fear. "Because of you. Because of..." "What happens when people stop caring about the billionaire's taco girl and move on to the next story?" "Then you'll still have the best tacos in the city," Raphael answered simply. "And the website and the ordering system and all the new customers who discovered you because of the publicity but stayed because of the food." His confidence eased some of her worry. "Michael filed a lawsuit against you," she said, changing the subject. "I know," Raphael sighed. "My lawyers say it's baseless, just his attempt to distract from his own misconduct, but it will be messy for a while." "Will it hurt Community First?" "Not in the long run," Raphael assured her. "Our investors know Michael's tactics. They're standing with me." Emilia hesitated, then asked the question that had been weighing on her mind. "And us? Where do we stand, Raphael?" There was a pause before he answered. "Wherever you want us to, Emilia. I care about you, more than I expected to, more than might be wise given everything that's happening. But I meant what I said last night. Your family comes first right now. I can wait." The simple honesty of his words made her throat tight with emotion. This man who could have anything was willing to wait for her. "What if," she began, then took a deep breath and started again. "What if we just take it slow? See where it goes without making any big declarations or decisions?" "I'd like that," Raphael said, and she could hear the smile in his voice. "Starting with dinner tomorrow night? Nothing fancy, just food and conversation?" "I'd like that too," Emilia agreed, smiling despite herself. As they said goodnight, Emilia felt something settle in her chest, a certainty that whatever happened with the business, with Michael's lawsuit, with the media attention, something true and valuable was growing between her and Raphael. And for the first time in years, she was ready to see where it might lead. The weeks that followed brought changes Emilia could never have imagined. Rojas Tacos wasn't just busy, it was thriving. The new online ordering system meant they often sold out before noon. Sophia, recovered from her health scare, but under strict orders to take it easy, supervised a small team of neighborhood helpers they'd been able to hire with the increased profits. "We need more space," Sophia declared one afternoon as they squeezed past each other in the tiny food truck. "This was fine for 30 years, but now we can barely keep up." Emilia nodded, wiping sweat from her brow. "Miguel's friend at the bank thinks we might qualify for a small business loan now. Maybe we could look at that empty storefront on Cesar Chavez Boulevard. The one with the big windows." Sophia's eyes lit up. "Your father always wanted a proper restaurant. He said people should sit and enjoy their food, not rush away." The mention of her father brought a lump to Emilia's throat. "I know, Abuela. I remember." Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of a familiar face. Raphael had become a regular presence at the taco stand, often stopping by in the mornings to help prep or in the afternoons to taste test new recipes Sophia was developing. Today, he carried a stack of folders and wore an expression that mixed excitement with nervousness. "Ladies," he greeted them. "Do you have a minute? There's something I'd like to discuss." Sophia nodded toward a small table they'd set up for customers. "Sit. I'll bring you some lunch." Once they were settled with plates of tacos, Raphael opened one of the folders. "I've been looking into something," he began. "That storefront you've been talking about on Cesar Chavez. I had my team run some numbers." He slid a paper across the table. This is what it would cost to buy the building outright, not just rent. Emilia stared at the figure, her heart sinking. It was far more than they could afford, even with their recent success. "That's just a dream," she said quietly. "Maybe in a few years, but what if it wasn't just a dream?" Raphael interrupted gently. "What if it could happen now?" Emilia's eyes narrowed. "What are you saying?" Raphael took a deep breath. "Community First has a fund specifically for helping established businesses expand. Low-interest loans, guidance through the permit process, marketing support, everything you'd need to make the transition from food truck to restaurant." "And you're offering this to us?" Sophia asked, setting down her spoon. "Your application would need approval from the board, not just me," Raphael explained. "But yes, I think Rojas Tacos would be a perfect candidate. 30 years of history, strong community ties, recent growth showing sustainability." Emilia felt conflicted emotions churning inside her. The opportunity was incredible, but doubts immediately surfaced. People would say we only got it because of... She gestured between herself and Raphael, leaving the words unspoken. Raphael had anticipated this. "That's why I brought this," he said, opening another folder. "These are the selection criteria, completely transparent, applied equally to all applicants. Your business metrics actually exceed what we typically look for." He slid over a second document. "And this is a list of the board members who make the final decisions. I recuse myself from voting on any business where there might be a perceived conflict of interest." Sophia studied the papers with a shrewd eye, then looked up at Raphael. "You've thought this through carefully." "I wanted to make sure everything was above board," Raphael admitted, "that no one could question whether Rojas Tacos earned this opportunity." Emilia felt a rush of gratitude for his understanding. In the weeks since they'd begun dating, casual dinners, walks through the neighborhood, evenings spent talking on her small balcony, Raphael had shown a deep respect for her concerns about appearances and perceptions. "We'd need to think about it," Emilia said. "Talk to Miguel and the family." "Of course," Raphael agreed immediately. "The application deadline isn't for another month. Take all the time you need." After he left, Sophia watched her granddaughter with knowing eyes. "He's a good man, that Raphael." "He is," Emilia agreed. "But this is a big decision, Abuela. If we take this step, there's no going back to the simple food truck life we've always known." Sophia took Emilia's hand. "Life only moves forward, Mija. Your father understood that. It's why he came to this country, not to stay the same, but to grow. To build something that could grow even after he was gone." Tears pricked at Emilia's eyes. "I just want to make the right choice." "The right choice is the one that honors who we are while embracing who we might become," Sophia said wisely, "and I think you know which choice that is." That evening, Emilia met Raphael at his grandmother's house, which had undergone a remarkable transformation. The sheets had been removed from the furniture, the garden tamed, the walls freshly painted in warm colors that preserved the home's character while brightening the spaces. "It's really coming along," Emilia observed, as Raphael gave her a tour. "It all feels right being back here," he admitted, "like I can finally breathe again after holding my breath for years." In the kitchen, now updated with new appliances but still centered around the scarred wooden table, Raphael had prepared dinner. Nothing fancy, just homemade enchiladas using a recipe he said his grandmother had taught him. "This is delicious," Emilia said, genuinely surprised by his cooking skills. Raphael smiled, pleased. "I used to cook all the time in college. Then somewhere along the way I got too busy, too important." His voice held a touch of self-deprecation. Amazing how easy it is to forget the simple things that make life worth living. After dinner, they settled on the back patio with cups of coffee. The night was warm, the scent of jasmine floating from the neighbor's yard. "I've been thinking about your offer," Emilia began, "for Rojas Tacos." Raphael set down his cup. "And? I think we want to apply," she said carefully. "But I need to know something first. Is this opportunity coming because you see potential in our business or because you have feelings for me?" Raphael considered the question seriously. "Both," he answered honestly, "but not in the way you might think. My feelings for you opened my eyes to your family's story, to the importance of places like Rojas Tacos. That perspective shaped community, First's entire mission. But the specific opportunity? That's based entirely on merit. He reached for her hand. Emilia, even if nothing romantic had developed between us, I would still believe your family's business deserves this chance to grow. That's the truth. The sincerity in his eyes convinced her. Okay, she said simply. Okay, Raphael repeated, a smile spreading across his face. We'll apply. Through the proper channels, following all the rules, just like any other business would. Raphael's smile widened. I wouldn't have it any other way. A comfortable silence fell between them, broken only by the distant sounds of the neighborhood, music playing from an open window, children laughing as they chased each other down the sidewalk, a dog barking at passing cars. There's something else I wanted to talk about, Raphael said finally. The lawsuit with Michael, it's getting uglier. His lawyers are demanding access to my personal communications, including texts and emails between us. Emilia tensed. Can they do that? My lawyers are fighting it, but I wanted you to know. Michael's desperate, and he'll use anything he can find to paint our relationship in a negative light. We haven't done anything wrong, Emilia insisted. I know that, but perception matters in these situations. Raphael's expression turned serious. I would never want my business troubles to hurt you or your family, Emilia. If you think we should take a step back until this is resolved, I would understand. The offer touched her deeply, another example of Raphael putting her needs before his own. But something had changed in Emilia over the past weeks. The fear that had once made her cautious had been replaced by a growing certainty. No, she said firmly. I'm not hiding and I'm not walking away. If your ex-partner wants a fight, let him bring it. We have nothing to be ashamed of. Relief and admiration mingled in Raphael's eyes. You're remarkable, you know that. I'm just stubborn, Emilia replied with a small smile. Ask Abuela. She's been complaining about it for years. Raphael laughed, then grew serious again. There's something else you should know. I've been offered a position on the city's small business commission. It would mean being more visible, more involved in local politics. Are you going to take it? I'm considering it, he admitted. It would be a chance to advocate for businesses like yours at the policy level, but it would also put us under even more scrutiny. Emilia thought about this. A few months ago, the idea would have terrified her. Now she found herself nodding. You should do it. You understand both worlds, the corporate side and the neighborhood businesses. That perspective is valuable. Raphael's expression softened. How did I get so lucky? To find someone who believes in me like you do? How you ordered tacos, Emilia answered simply, making him laugh. As the evening drew to a close, Raphael walked her to her car. Under the soft glow of the street lamp, he took both her hands in his. I've been thinking, he said quietly, about us, about where we might be heading. Emilia's heart quickened. Oh? I'm not proposing, not yet, Raphael clarified with a small smile. I know we're still figuring things out, but I want you to know that I'm all in, Emilia. Whatever comes, whatever challenges we face, I'm not going anywhere. The simple declaration, free of grand gestures or elaborate promises, meant more to Emilia than any romantic speech could have. I'm all in too, she whispered, rising on her toes to kiss him softly. When they broke apart, Raphael's eyes held a warmth that made her feel both seen and cherished. Same time tomorrow? I promised your grandmother I'd help install those new shelves. Emilia nodded, smiling as she slipped into her car. As she drove home, she marveled at how much had changed in just a few months. The taco stand was thriving. Sophia was happier than she'd been in years, excited about the possibility of a real restaurant. And Emilia herself had found something she hadn't even known she was looking for. A partner who respected her independence while standing firmly by her side. The next few weeks passed in a whirlwind of activity. The Community First application was submitted, with Miguel and Elena helping to gather all the necessary documentation. Raphael's lawsuit with Michael continued, but the press had largely moved on to fresher scandals, giving them some much-needed breathing room. Sophia insisted on hosting a small family dinner to celebrate Emilia's birthday. Nothing fancy, she promised. Just family and close friends. When Emilia arrived home that evening, she was touched to find the small apartment transformed. Colorful paper decorations hung from the ceiling, and the dining table had been extended, with borrowed folding tables to accommodate everyone. Miguel and Elena were there with their children. Cousins from across the city had made the trip. Even old Mr. Garcia from down the block had been invited, sitting in the place of honor beside Sofia. And there was Rafael, looking slightly nervous but happy as he chatted with Emilia's family, a glass of Sofia's homemade horchata in his hand. "Happy birthday, Mija," Sofia said, embracing her granddaughter. 30 years of stubbornness and strength. "I learned from the best," Emilia replied, kissing her grandmother's cheek. The evening was filled with laughter, stories, and more food than their small apartment had ever seen. Rafael fit in seamlessly, teasing Miguel about his failed attempt to grow peppers on his apartment balcony, listening attentively to Elena's mother's tale of crossing the border 50 years earlier, even learning dominoes from Mr. Garcia, despite the old man's creative interpretation of the rules. After dinner, as everyone settled in the living room with slices of tres leches cake, Miguel clinked his glass for attention. "I have an announcement," he said, grinning widely. "I just got a call from the bank. Our loan application for the new restaurant space has been pre-approved." Cheers erupted around the room. Sofia clapped her hands in delight. "That's not all," Miguel continued. "The Community First Board met yesterday, and Rojas Tacos has been selected as one of their inaugural partners." Emilia gasped, looking at Rafael. "You knew?" "I was recused from the vote," he reminded her. "I only found out an hour before coming here. The official letter will arrive tomorrow." Sofia embraced Emilia, tears in her eyes. "Your father would be so proud, Mija. So proud of what you've built." "What we've built, Abuela," Emilia corrected, including her grandmother in the embrace. Together. As the celebration continued around them, Rafael drew Emilia onto the small balcony for a moment of quiet. "I have something for you," he said, handing her a small wrapped package. "Happy birthday." Emilia unwrapped it carefully to find a beautiful wooden box. Inside was an antique silver key. "What's this?" she asked, confused. Rafael smiled. "It was my grandmother's. She always said a key symbolizes possibility, the opening of doors, the beginning of journeys." Emilia ran her finger over the intricate design. "It's beautiful. There's something else," Rafael added, suddenly looking nervous. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a folded document. "This is the deed to the building on Cesar Chavez Boulevard," Emilia frowned, taking the paper. "I don't understand." "I bought it," Rafael explained, "but not for me. For Rojas Tacos. It's structured as a business investment, completely separate from Community First, completely above board. Your family will own 60%, with my investment giving me 40%. All profits go back into the business for the first 5 years. Emilia stared at him in shock. "Rafael, we can't accept this. It's not a gift," he clarified quickly. "It's a sound business investment in a thriving local establishment with 30 years of history and excellent growth potential. The lawyers drew up everything to make sure it's a legitimate business partnership." "But why?" Emilia asked, still, trying to process the magnitude of the gesture. Rafael's expression softened. "Because I believe in Rojas Tacos, in your family's legacy, in what you're building." He paused, then added more quietly, "And because I love you, Emilia." The words hung in the air between them, simple and profound. It was the first time he had said them aloud, though they had been evident in his actions. "For weeks. You don't have to say it back," Rafael added quickly. "I just wanted you to know where I stand. No pressure, no expectations." Emilia shook her head, tears pricking at her eyes. "That's the thing about you, Rafael Blake. You keep offering me these incredible things while asking for nothing in return." She stepped closer, her hand finding his. "But relationships don't work that way. They're about give and take, about building something together." Rafael's eyes searched hers. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying yes to the business partnership, with proper legal review and Miguel's input on the details," Emilia clarified. "And I'm saying that I love you too, not because of this," she held up the deed, "but because of who you are." Man who remembers the books I love, who brings my grandmother flowers in the hospital, who found his way back to his roots partly because I reminded him what home feels like. Relief and joy transformed Raphael's face. He pulled her close, resting his forehead against hers. "I never expected to find you," he whispered, "delivering tacos to my door in that old Dodgers hoodie." Emilia laughed softly. "Life has strange timing." "The best kind," Raphael agreed, before capturing her lips in a kiss that felt like a promise. From inside the apartment, Sophia watched through the window, a satisfied smile on her face. She lifted her glass of sangria in a silent toast before turning back to her guests, giving her granddaughter the privacy this moment deserved. 3 months later, Emilia stood in the empty storefront on Cesar Chavez Boulevard, sunlight streaming through the large windows, illuminating the dust motes dancing in the air. Renovations would begin next week, transforming the space into Rojas Restaurant and Taqueria, a dream 30 years in the making. Sophia walked the perimeter slowly, her fingers trailing along the walls. "Your father would have loved this place," she said quietly. "So much light, so much space for families to gather." Emilia nodded, her throat tight with emotion. "We'll hang his photo right there." She pointed to a prominent wall near the entrance. "So he's always watching over us." The bell above the door jingled as Raphael entered, carrying a stack of blueprints. His lawsuit with Michael had been settled out of court the previous month, the terms sealed, but the outcome clearly in Raphael's favor, based on the vindicated gleam in his eye whenever the subject arose. Community First was thriving, with 47 local businesses now participating in the program. Raphael split his time between the initiative's headquarters downtown and his grandmother's house, which had become a second home to Emilia as well. "The contractor has a few questions about the kitchen layout," he announced, spreading the blueprints on a folding table they'd brought in. As Sophia examined the plans, offering strong opinions about the placement of the grill, Raphael slipped his arm around Emilia's waist. "Happy?" he asked softly. Emilia leaned into him, surveying the empty space that held so much potential. In her mind's eye, she could already see it filled with tables and chairs, with families sharing meals, with the legacy her father had started and that she would continue. "More than happy," she answered. "Grateful. For Abuela's strength, for this opportunity." She turned to face him fully. "For you." Raphael smiled, that warm, genuine smile that had first drawn her in. Who would have thought that delivering tacos to a penthouse would lead to all this? "Not me," Emilia admitted with a laugh. "I was just doing my job, and I was just a lonely guy with a craving for authentic food," Raphael added. "Funny how the simplest things can change your whole life." Sophia called them over to settle a debate about where the salsa bar should be placed, and they joined her. At the blueprints, the three of them planning the future together. Outside, the neighborhood bustled with life. Children walking home from school, shopkeepers sweeping their sidewalks, an ice cream vendor pushing his cart down the street. Just an ordinary day in East LA, filled with the small moments and simple connections that, as Raphael and Emilia had discovered, could sometimes lead to the most extraordinary journeys. As the afternoon sun began to fade, Raphael took Emilia's hand. "I almost forgot," he said, reaching into his pocket. "I have something for you." He pulled out a small velvet box. Emilia's breath caught as he placed it in her palm. "It's not what you think," Raphael said, with a mischievous smile. "Not yet, anyway. But soon." Curious, Emilia opened the box to find a new key gleaming silver against the dark velvet. "What's this for?" she asked. Raphael's expression turned serious, though his eyes remained warm. "My house. My grandmother's house. I want you to have a key. No pressure to use it. No expectations about moving in or changing anything about our relationship. Just an open door whenever you want it." The symbolism wasn't lost on Emilia. An open door, a standing invitation, a home that could be shared. "Thank you," she said simply, closing her fingers around the key. From across the room, Sophia watched the exchange with a knowing smile. She had seen this coming from that very first day, when Emilia had returned from a simple delivery with stars in her eyes and protests on her lips. Some connections were inevitable, like the perfect blend of spices, in a family recipe passed down through generations, like the way a shared meal could bring strangers together, like the rhythm of a heart finding its match in the most unexpected place. As the three of them locked up the empty restaurant that would soon be filled with life and laughter, Sophia silently thanked whatever forces had brought Raphael Blake to their taco stand. Some might call it coincidence, others might call it fate. Sophia, who had lived long enough to recognize the pattern of the universe at work, simply called it love. As reliable as her oldest recipes, as surprising as a new flavor, and as nourishing as the food they had always made with care, with history, and with heart. Emilia and Raphael walked ahead of her to the car, their hands naturally finding each other, their steps naturally falling into the same rhythm. Sophia smiled as she followed them into the warm evening light. Another chapter was beginning, for the taco stand that had become a restaurant, for the family that had weathered so many storms, and for the granddaughter who had finally found someone who saw her true value, who respected her roots even as he helped her grow. And it had all started with a simple delivery, the right food, at the right door, at exactly the right moment, just tacos and heartbeats. Sometimes that was all it took, for life to reveal its most beautiful possibilities.